right there on the pharmaceutical industry, the way COVID has impacted it. But right now, the big story is surrounding Uganda as a country and it going into an election. We have Museveni going against Bobi Wine or the other way around. Right now, I'm joined by Mnobo Sebiala, who is a businessman and also a Ugandan. Mnobo, you've been following this campaign trail for both candidates, the president, the incumbent president, and Bobi Wine. What were some of the economic, pointers they were giving in their campaign trail that they hope to, achieve for the country should they assume power?
Right. Thank you very much. Mr. Museveni, in his campaign, he's been insisting that he's going to consolidate the gains he has. The gains being improving the economy because he found the economy at a very low level in 1986, continuing with infrastructure development, roads and other areas, improving the health sector, the education sector, improving exports from Uganda, and improving on tourism. So that's why his campaign hashtag is securing your future. It's more about consolidating the gains. However, on the other side, the opposition candidates, and notably Mr. Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, also known as Bobi Wine, is expressing dissatisfaction with what has been done in the past 34 years, because from 1986 the government has been in power and they feel that it hasn't done enough. There's a lot of unemployment, particularly with the youth. Uganda is, if not the oldest nation in the, the youngest nation in the world. Very many young people are unemployed, and the few areas where they will be employed, like in the informal sector or through online businesses via the internet, are frustrated here and there. So it's an argument of we are consolidating our gains as government, and on the other side, we feel you haven't done enough, but you've been in power for so long.
Definitely. And the business environment, you've done business in Kenya, in Uganda, your home country, the enabling environment for business, for the time that you've been doing business, how is it? And also outline the impact of COVID-19 on this status of business environment in Uganda.
Right. Business in Uganda is not difficult to do. It's an open economy and it's a mixed economy. You can pretty much do anything. Although there are some businesses that you can't touch as an ordinary businessman, such as gold, export, and those kinds of technical businesses or high-level businesses. But it's okay to do business in Uganda. However, there's an issue of interest rates by the banks. If a businessman wants to borrow some money, the rates are really high. Sometimes they go up to 24%, and I think the lowest you can ever really get is 19%. So that's kind of frustrating for the locals. And the locals argue that with such high interest rates, how can we compete with the international industries that are coming in from the West and from China? COVID-19 has affected nearly every country, and in Uganda it's been a really big hit because a large portion of the economy is informal. People are in informal transport, people are in informal industries, and many people are doing odd jobs here and there. So with the pandemic, especially if the services are not essential, people are not earning enough. And this is why you see a bit of frustration when people are expressing their views in this election period and how it's making things even worse.
Yeah, and we've seen the political environment in Africa and the world generally. It's normally a very charged environment. Now, in this particular scenario, we have a pandemic at play. And I don't know how Uganda managed to balance the two, because there's the fear of COVID-19, which you've seen impacting businesses. At the same time, we are having very rife and very vibrant political activities. How is that balance achieved?
Right. I'm not sure if I want to use the word balance, but the government asked the masses to avoid public gatherings, and for a long time, people could not gather for political activities or for any other activities, religious or family functions. So The curfew in Uganda had been from 7 p.m., rather 6 p.m. to 5:30 a.m. That was slightly changed from 9 p.m. to 5:30 a.m. But you find that a lot of activity goes on in the evening. People moving from work, people going to entertainment places, which, by the way, in Uganda are still not allowed to operate. So it's not been easy at all. And when you talk to the people locally, when you talk to people random in the streets, they feel that the curfew hour should be extended or should be removed altogether and people given SOPs to follow. So striking a balance has not been easy. You have restaurant people not operating, people who operate bars are not operating optimally, and you have people in transport not operating optimally. And now transport is even more expensive because they have to reduce the numbers. So it hasn't been really easy. Yeah, but perhaps after the election, maybe it will change.
And, you know, you see politicians, they gather people en masse. And somebody whose business, you know, depends on people gathering en masse, it can't happen. So you find there's that feeling of, okay, why are you doing that? And we can't be allowed to do that. But maybe let's look at the, you know, outsiders' observation of Uganda. Leading to the election, we've seen quite a number of activities. Now, election day, the issue of internet shutdown. How does the international community perceive this? For you as a businessman, should you be concerned?
Yeah, it's worrying. In the world we live in today, we are in the information age. So if you hear things like internet shutdown or blocking of social media, for people with serious minds, it's not a good thing at all. But this also comes down to which side of the world you sight the moon from. Some other people will tell you that we are okay with this. It's not very good for us, but we understand that the government has to do this for security concerns because it's not being done really in a clandestine manner. The Uganda Communications Commission is issuing letters to internet service providers to shut down their gateways, to block social media activity, in consideration of the people who benefit from social media or working online. So I would think that the people who are outside Uganda will think it is quite ridiculous. And then the people who are outside Uganda but are standing with the government will look at it as something that should be done because it could get chaotic and social media can cause all sorts of problems.
So it's one's point of view at the end of the day. So yes. You earlier on touched on, you know, the promises of these two main candidates, Robert Kyagulanyi and President Museveni. Now, moving forward, in terms, because the only person we have a track record of is President Museveni for the 35 years. There's been elections in the past. Has there been that level of consistency where there's promise and delivery?
That's an interesting question. Some of the things that are promised are delivered, but not everything. And there's a tendency to make more promises towards elections. I mean, you've seen Uganda, construction of roads is serious business because the president goes out there, he's pictured, he's captured, you know, laying foundation stones or launching construction of certain roads. So I would say some things are delivered for several reasons and some are not delivered for several reasons, but during the election campaign there's a tendency to promise more and more and more. Now, on the other hand, Mr. Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu is making that argument. He's saying Uganda deserves better. That's pretty much what he's saying. This is not enough. Yes, something has been done, it's not enough. The nation is young, there are many young people unemployed, struggling, facing unfair conditions when you compare with foreign businesses. I mentioned earlier interest rate issues and probably economic policy. So he's saying we need a new change. That's why his campaign is a new Uganda, you know, a different Uganda, a better Uganda.
Yes, definitely. And we've seen, you know, politics at this urgent time during this pandemic, actually the reaction to the pandemic and questioning the people can sway the vote one way or another. We've seen that in more developed democracies like the United States, the way Trump reacted to the pandemic, that delay, kind of affected even his re-election, pursuit. For Uganda, has there been a concerted effort and structured way of cushioning the people of Uganda and also businesses in Uganda during this pandemic?
The narrative has mostly been, this problem is happening to everyone, you have to live with it, and with time it will go away. So there haven't been strong measures to try to cushion people. When I compare with Kenya, here there was an announcement on reduction of pay as you earn. I saw artists getting a package to help them because they are not operating. In Uganda, there haven't been such high-level measures, although we could argue that some people have found a way to work. I mean, more businesses have gone online. People have become more innovative. You find that the entertainment shows, from the Uganda Brewers Limited, the specific beer brand called Club has been doing a show where it's bringing artists, they perform live on YouTube and people enjoy. So people have found ways, either through sponsorship by companies or their own innovation to survive, but there haven't been serious high-level interventions from the government.
Debt. This is a huge discussion in Africa. Kenya, it is gaining interest at a very fast rate. Even right now, you ask a small child, they will tell you the issue of debt because it is a concern in Africa. For Uganda, the issue of public debt, borrowing, is it a major topic of discussion even as we do the elections?
Yes, people talk about debt. In fact, the opposition's campaign has been singing about this. There's a lot of debt. And when they argue that when this money comes in, it doesn't go to the right areas. It's sort of mismanaged. You have so many inflated budgets from the cabinet, where the cabinet spends money on trips and so many other things that are not seen as a priority by the opposition. They argue that our health sector would have been much better if we spent this kind of amount much better. So the argument is there, and the debt is growing. And I should mention that a significant chunk of Uganda's budget is funded by external debt.
Quite an update right there. Did you vote?
That's up to me now.
That's up to you at the end of the day. But thank you very much for making time, even as Uganda, goes through this important transition and process actually of choosing a leader, a national leader. And thank you very much. That is Munobu Esebiala, who is a businessman. His home country is Uganda, but I mean, the world is open for business. So at this particular moment, we take a short break right here on Business Today. We'll return with more.